Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of Phenomenology Pill. Today, we examine the role of language in phenomenology. Um, if you start your journey in phenomenological philosophy studying Husserl, you would see how important is language in phenomenology because Husserl was, first of all, a mathematician. So he migrated toward philosophy from a deep understanding of mathematics. Uh, some of his teachers said that he was not such a good mathematician. He had a PhD in mathematics. He wasn't such a good mathematician because he was interested in the origin of things, because he was a philosopher after all. When he was looking at numbers, um, he wasn't happy in just using numbers for expressing the essence of reality, for giving a language to the natural expression of physical events. So much so that his first published book was The Philosophy of Arithmetics, in which he studies the genealogy of a number. What is a number? What's the manifold that this number represents? And after this dissertation that became a book, in which he investigates the origin of numbers, he moves toward the logical investigations, which are, in fact, if you want, a continuation of his dissertation interests, of his research in mathematics, because instead of focusing on the origin of numbers, he focuses on the origin of words. But numbers, like words, are the token for a language through which we express an essence that is um, key to the way in which we understand the world. This is something I discussed in our last video. When we encounter something, we discussed that when talking about intentionality. When we encounter something and we entertain thoughts about anything we look at in the world, this essence, this thing, this object, I use the example of the cup. Now, today we have a different cup, becomes another cup in myself, and I will use the word cup as a form to describe, in essence, a matter, a concreteness that became part of who I am now, that is a manifold of percepta, of data that somehow are part of me now. So, in the logical investigation, which is a book divided in two parts, prolegomena and the logical investigations, the prolegomena represent an introduction in which we try to understand what are the tricks we might fall into when we take words seriously. And the other part is dedicated to the relationship that we establish between our consciousness, which is considered by Husserl a flow of lived experiences, a flow of this intentional relationship with the world, and the way in which we make sense of what we encounter in the world, of the intentional mm, content that we produce when we connect with something. So, as it concerns the prolegomena, some of the problems we encounter when we take seriously words are either in excess of faith that we put in these words, logicism, if you want. So I think that all my thoughts, all my way of connecting with reality can be expressed through these logical laws that connects the token by which I refer to something. So everything explicable is explicable because I can use words, numbers, tokens of any sign, of any kind, and connect them through um, um, grammar, through specific rules. Or, on the other hand, we have the other direction, which could be psychologism. So, words, grammar arrive to a certain point, can express what is good, but what matters is that everything passes through my psyche, that all that I know is in fact a product of my psychological thinking. Um, why are these two extremes? And Husserl goes on and on. Here in the Prolegomena, he focuses mostly on these two forms of isms, of drips, of the way in which we reflect on things. But later on in phenomenological psychology, for example, he will talk about anthropologisms, or in philosophy as a rigorous science, he will talk about historicism. So when we try to reduce the complexity of reality to just one layer, we take the risk of getting lost, of not knowing the complexity of our language. So here I'm trying to do the impossible, which is a very short summary of um, Husserl's logical investigations and the phenomenological way of interpreting language. So I hope you excuse me if I oversimplify in some places. But to continue, in the logical investigations, he tries to give justice to the complexity of our language. How does he do so? Mostly understanding the importance of our intentional relationship with reality, with facts. So when we have words, these words are clearly an expression, a token of a reference. This is the very important distinction for which we cannot reduce things to one layer or another. This word refers to something. So there's a meaning, there's an intention, there's a tension that connects this token to something else. And this something else is the sense. So uh, consciousness and words are the two poles of an ongoing stream, which we might call life, which we might call nature. Um, uh, our life goes through this ongoing intentional flow. And in this flow, when we stop looking at things, we find part of ourselves or other people living in a certain moment in a certain moments in their life, looking at something and expressing this something with a name. So the name is the very final point of an intentional act. The intentional act is the way in which we tend toward the object of our experience, and we make sense of that. So we have a reference that goes to the object, and in this reference, we objectify a content, an essence that makes sense for us. So I was giving the other day an example. If you look at this thing, ecco, and I don't show this name, but I show just this. You actually don't know what this thing is. The way in which we name things comes always from a very personal relationship we have with the object. In ourself, we always find an I we. We always find a subject that is part of the community because we grew up with a family, with an education. So we tend afterwards to agree on certain terms of certain names that we give to objects. So we know that if I put this out and I show you the name of the brand, we all agree, okay, this is a tissue box. Nevertheless, when we try to establish a relationship, a connection with anything in the world, and we strive to come up with a language, with a name that fix the meaning of this object, and the term he uses, objektivierend, I mean, objectify this essence, creates an object out of this essence, is always an incredible effort. That's why numbers, the number one, the term tissue box, might be very much for granted because we've been used to know them and to repeatedly give these names to these objects. But there's nothing granted in that. Think of how children experience life, or how a person who is feeling depressed, for example, might experience just the term of today I took a shower. Okay, for us is for us on a good day, in a good moment. Okay, that's nothing extraordinary in this expression. You took a shower, so what? But if we are looking at this simple sentence from the lived experience of a person suffering from depression, this is a victory. The sense that is expressed in this, just only in being able to having the desire to express this sentence to someone, then having done that, then having communicated this to itself and others, and so on, it has a completely different sense. So I'm already a little over than the time I want to give to my pills. To summarize, a little bit the goal of this endeavor in phenomenology, language is incarnated. When we will read Merleau-Ponty, for example, the beautiful phenomenology of perception, we see how language is the chair, is the flesh of life. If we don't have a word, we will not be able to express the sense, the essence of what we are living. That's why it was an incredible victory for our society to have expanded our vocabulary in relation to gender and sexes, because now we give a space for this sense to exist. It would be great if we could do that with, I don't know, different mental disorders or problems that we cannot still see, but they are there and they are trying to express, to bring to life something that it's an essence that flows in these lived experiences that we share, but still is not objectified yet, is not transformed in something that is visible. And another good book that today I feel uh, good to cite, it's The Visible and the Invisible, a very small one from Merleau-Ponty. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these pills. If you have questions, I never asked for that, but if you have questions or curiosity, you can ask me. If I can answer, I will. If not, I might refer to something. So thank you for watching, and I wish you a beautiful day. Bye, everybody.